Andrew McCabe, the former acting director of the FBI, continues to make more and more and more very explosive claims, most recently saying last night to Anderson Cooper that it's possible that the current president of the United States is a Russian asset. So let's reset. Over the weekend, Andrew McCabe was interviewed on 60 Minutes. And that 60 Minutes interview contained a number of explosive claims, to put it lightly. Andrew McCabe said that it was not sarcasm when it was claimed that Rod Rosenstein considered wearing a wire after James Comey was fired when he spoke to President Trump. Andrew McCabe says, no, that really happened. Andrew McCabe explained that he opened an obstruction probe into Donald Trump to try to create an infrastructure that would not so easily allow for the investigation to be shut down in the event that Andrew McCabe was pushed out, which, of course, he eventually was. And Andrew McCabe also told us in that 60 Minutes interview that there was a serious discussion within the Justice Department about the possibility of using the 25th Amendment to have the cabinet of Donald Trump remove him for being unfit to serve or unable to carry out the duties of the presidency. That's just the 60 Minutes interview. We then get to Anderson Cooper's show last night, and Anderson Cooper asked, is it possible that the president is indeed a Russian asset? And the former acting director of the FBI said it is possible, and that possibility was actually what led to the opening of an investigation.
Do you still believe the president could be a Russian asset?
I think it's possible. I think that's why we started our investigation, and I'm really anxious to see where Director Mueller concludes that.
This is not some random, uninformed, partisan political pundit speaking extemporaneously. This is someone who was the former acting director, or was the acting director of the FBI, who bases his knowledge and involvement on what is actually in the possession of the FBI, and who is going to base his comments on a program like Anderson Cooper's on the basis of firsthand involvement in these investigations. And what he is saying is he can't rule out the possibility that Donald Trump, the president of the United States, is an asset of Russia. We've talked before about the distinction between asset and agent. And I know that there are some people in the audience who, when I brought this up, wrote to me and said, well, you know, David, there is a semantic difference there, but the terms are sort of used interchangeably. Maybe it's not a big deal. That may be true, but let's just be very clear, because when Andrew McCabe uses the term asset, he's talking about something very specific. An agent of Russia in general would suggest like an active intelligence officer or some kind of formal relationship to Russia. That's not what Andrew McCabe is suggesting here. What Andrew McCabe is saying is that there's a possibility that Trump is an asset. An asset is something possessed and used by someone else. And what this could suggest, and this has been my feeling for a while now, it's not that Donald Trump is even necessarily knowingly working to advance the Russian agenda, but he's doing it because he's been manipulated for years, and it's actually better for the foreign power if Trump doesn't think he's actually acting at their direction, if he thinks he's making all of these decisions himself. And I was thinking back to the list at this point, which is an increasingly growing list of actions that Donald Trump has taken, which don't prove that he is an aware, proactive agent of Russia, but have effectively transformed him into a de facto asset of Russia. Let's go through the list. Number one, publicly taking the side of Russia and Putin over our own intelligence agencies. He's done this at this point dozens of times, and we just learned that in private, he literally said, I don't care what American intelligence says, I believe Putin, at least on the issue of North Korea's weapons capabilities. Number two, Trump's refusal to enforce sanctions that are in the law against Russia and the reversal of existing sanctions. Donald Trump has done both. We told you recently that Donald Trump is ending the joint nuclear agreement, which opens the door to Russia further arming itself. Does it matter whether Trump thinks he's doing it because it's better for America or because he's doing it because it's good for Putin? If it's good for Putin and if it's good for Russia, then Trump is assisting them in what they want to have happen. Number four, multiple lies about Donald Trump's interests in Russia. Even if Trump is lying out of stupidity about the extent to which Trump Tower Moscow was being explored, it's still good for Russia that Donald Trump appears to be evasive and dishonest about it because it simply raises more questions about why. That's good for Russia. Number five, or maybe six at this point, I don't know, I'm losing track. Trump's threats to pull out of NATO, even if Trump has reasons that he believes are good reasons to pull out of NATO that have nothing to do with Russia, that plays directly into the Russian priority of destabilizing NATO, causing chaos in the geopolitical West. Number six or seven, withdrawal from Syria. Withdrawal from Syria is counter to what every relevant expert says makes sense in the way that Trump is proposing it. Still hasn't happened, by the way. It's not clear if it will, but it plays directly into Russian geopolitical priorities. So at this point, Pat, this is not defensible, period. The only argument there is one over whether Trump is knowingly doing this stuff to benefit Russia, or whether he believes that he has his own reasons and it just happens to be exactly what Russia wants him to do.
I think that Trump being a Russian asset makes a lot more sense than him being a Russian agent. I just don't think he's smart enough to be a Russian agent. He would accidentally admit to it on national TV, like how he admitted to Lester Holt that he fired James Comey over the Russia investigation, or how he admitted recently that he didn't have to declare a national emergency. I don't think he can think that many moves ahead, and I think that he is being manipulated, but he doesn't fully know it.
Yeah, at minimum, we have an unambiguous series of events that show Donald Trump is betraying American interests in the favor of Russia. And the extent to which this is coordinated puppeteering by Russia or not, we just don't know. We may never know. And most importantly, and I'm going to be going back to this a lot in the coming, 11, 9, 20, 21 months, I guess it is, until the election. Donald Trump may well get reelected in 2020, which would be an indictment not just on Trump voters, but also on anti-Trump voters who choose to stay home. And I know that I'm going to get emails saying, David, you really shouldn't be preemptively blaming people who don't like Trump. I'm not. What I'm saying is, when 50% of the country doesn't vote, if Donald Trump gets reelected, it's not just because his base supports him. It's also because not enough people who don't support Trump voted. It's just a mathematical reality, and it's a very plausible reality. Not probable, I won't say at this point, but it's a very plausible reality that Donald Trump will indeed be reelected. We have a poll out right now on YouTube and Instagram asking, what are you going to use as information to evaluate who you will vote for in the 2020 Democratic primary? You can find this on the YouTube community tab, as well as on the David Pakman Show Instagram page, which is at David Pakman Show. Participate, vote, and we will have results hopefully for you tomorrow. Today's program is sponsored in part by Sprezabox, who are offering everybody in our audience a bunch of really cool free stuff. Sprezabox is a company based in New York City, and they are going to make your life a lot easier and save you money when it comes to keeping up with men's fashion. Because when you sign up for Sprezabox, you'll get a totally new box sent to your door every month with 5 or 6 hand-picked accessories and pieces of clothing. You'll get things like really stylish socks, neckties, high-end sunglasses, wallets, watches, bracelets, high-quality pens, and hair combs. The list goes on, but it's all really nice stuff, must-haves for any guy who's wanting to update his wardrobe. I got some really cool stuff in my Sprezabox, including a money clip, as well as a very nice pocket square and some really good-looking socks, all of which are very, very cool. The Sprezabox subscription is just $25 a month, but you definitely come out ahead because every box, every single month is guaranteed to have items with a combined value of over $100. So they make it easy to keep your outfits fresh, but you're also getting a lot of bang for your buck. And it makes a really great gift for a guy in your life. Everyone in our audience can get 1 month totally free when you click the link underneath this video and use the promo code PAKMAN. That's PAKMAN.